everyone. I'm Amy Rodrigues, and welcome back to our segment called Time Will Tell for the Canine Chronicle TV. We have Ms. Jan Paulk with us today, and with this Time Will Tell series, I love it so much because it gives everyone the opportunity to get to know our judges a little bit better and their history in dogs. And boy, does Ms. Paulk have an amazing history to share with us. A lot of you won't even have any clue about her history in dogs. So first we're going to start and ask you, how did you get started in dogs?
Well, I grew up with dogs, purebred dogs, but not show dogs. And one day I was living in Washington, D.C., and I read about a dog show, National Capital, at the Armory, and I drove out there and went.
How far away was that?
Oh, I lived in town. It was 3 miles.
Oh, so
it was right
were you
there.
Hooked immediately?
Well, I saw a German Shepherd, champion Lakeside's Gilligan's Island, win Best in Show, and I said, I'm going to have one.
Really?
I'm going to have one. And when I was there for the first time, I knew not one soul. I thought, I can do this, and I'm going to.
And how did you get your first dog?
I called the owner of Lakeside's Gilligan's Island.
Wow, you went straight to the source.
I did. And I said, I want a puppy, and I want to show it. And I got one.
Oh, very nice. Did you finish?
No, I didn't finish that dog, but I made a lot of friends, and the German Shepherd people taught me in those days.
Your original breed was German Shepherds.
I joined the German Shepherd Dog Club of Washington, D.C., and I remember one of the first times I went to the meeting, somebody said something about Rachel Page Elliott. And I said, who is that? And they said, you don't know who Rachel Page Elliott is? Well, get the book. And I did. And those people taught me. They taught me structure. They taught me anatomy. I mean, I taught myself, but they gave me the tools I needed in order to learn. And I did learn.
Awesome. And part of what this segment is about is also sharing with people how different dog shows were back then compared to now. And you're talking about they taught you. I remember as a kid growing up, people were so much more friendly and willing to help the new person. Did you find that as well?
Absolutely the truth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So today it's not as easy to just find someone to be a mentor and learn from.
It must not be. But they also had matches.
Yes.
And before too long, 10 years maybe, I was judging matches.
Oh, wow.
And I loved it. I loved to go and judge a match. And I got into Papillons because German Shepherds were frankly too hard.
Okay.
It was 85 bitches for a 5-point major.
Okay.
In bitches. And we didn't go to all breed shows.
Oh, wow.
We went to German Shepherd shows.
Yes.
But all breed was a whole nother world, and I loved it.
Mm-hmm. And so it was a natural progression for you to become a judge when you stopped showing dogs?
It was.
Mm-hmm. And you love judging?
I do love it.
Okay. And we were commenting earlier that you always have a reason for your decisions, and and I always say, if you go to a judge and they you're respectful and they're respectful, they can always give you a reason why the dog won or lost, but you especially.
Oh, thank you.
You especially.
Thank you.
Like, I trust that you're going to tell me what you thought.
Where I made the difference and what I thought. And if you disagree with me, we can have a very civil conversation.
I love it.
About how you see it differently, because I can learn. I can always learn.
And it's always a learning from both sides, I agree.
It's always learning.
Now, I hear that you have something special that you also did while you were showing dogs. Did you work in the Senate?
I worked in the Senate. I went to work in the Senate right after college.
Wow.
I was going to go to law school, but I got a job in the office of J.W. Fulbright, of the Fulbright Scholarships, and I was the file clerk.
Wow.
And the messenger was Bill Clinton, who became President Bill Clinton.
Wow.
And it was a wonderful experience. I just went. I lived in a studio apartment with another girl because we made no money, nothing. And we learned, and we worked hard, and we learned, and I progressed. I ended up being there 27 years.
Wow.
And
all along while you were showing dogs
Well,
too?
I wasn't showing dogs much. I showed the not so good ones.
Okay.
And the good ones had to go with a handler.
You had a handler at the time? Who was your handler?
Well, for German Shepherds, it was Jimmy Moses.
Nothing but the best, of course.
And for Papillons, primarily it was John Alton.
Again, nothing but the best.
Well, I worked so I could afford it.
Amazing.
But I spent 27 years in the Senate.
Wow.
I became a professional staff member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. And then I was lured away by a senator and set up the Office of International Travel and Protocol.
Oh, wow.
And I did that for a number of years.
So you traveled a lot?
I traveled, and 70 to 90 days a year out of the country.
Out of the country? So how did you travel out of the country?
Well, on a big airplane, and sometimes it was the plane that was Air Force One.
Amazing!
Air Force One is whatever plane the president is on. But when he wasn't using it, we got to use it.
Amazing! How special is that?
That was pretty special.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But I was never a handler. I would show my own dogs that weren't too good, but I worked all the time, so I could never know whether I could go to a show or not.
Now, when you were traveling and you were with the politicians, did you ever get a phone call from a dog person?
I certainly did, yes, from a well-known person that we've mentioned, and it woke him up at 3 o'clock in the morning in Florida because I was going to get back and go and watch my dog be shown in Florida, and I can't tell on television the response that I got. But anyway, yeah.
So he said something that maybe was embarrassing
Well,
while you were on the plane.
it was embarrassing because the plane in those days, it was patched. I called from over the Atlantic. I was on my way back from Russia. So it was patched through several Air Force bases, so they all heard the whole conversation.
Oh, no.
And it was a true story.
Too funny. Too funny. So if we know Jimmy, we can imagine a Jimmy story there. So
yes.
I love Jimmy. He was a huge mentor to me, especially when I was traveling with my first top-winning smooth fox terrier. If I was at a show that he was at, he always welcomed me into the setup, even though he knew I was going to be competition. So he's always dear to my heart for that reason.
Great dog man.
Talk about sitting down and talking dogs. You can learn a lot from him.
Taught me movement.
Yeah. Without a doubt. He taught me how to run. He improved how I run. I mean, I grew up showing Brittany so I could run, but he said, let me show you how you really run.
He never taught me that.
So let's see. Last thing, what's a funny story about when you were showing dogs about dogs that are so different back then? A funny story that...
Well, I can tell you a funny story. It's not particularly about that. But I was a member of Old Dominion Kennel Club for about 25 years. And I was often the announcer, which I could do and I liked. And I left my post and got in line to go to the porta potty. So I'm standing in the line at the porta potty, and this woman walks into the porta potty with a Great Dane. And she puts the Great Dane on a sit-stay outside the porta potty. And I just was looking at her. And all of a sudden, the door came open, the dog ran right toward me. She's got her pants down around her knees and dragging, and she was being dragged. And she said, "Get the dog." And I said, "I'm afraid." I was humiliated that I said that, but I was afraid this Great Dane is running at me with a woman.
And you're a petite lady, too.
I'm not big.
Great Dane's going to knock you over.
I'm not afraid of big dogs now, but running at me, it was a long time ago. That's my funniest story.
Oh, that is pretty funny.
And when it made the circles and the Great Dane people, because someone told me the story. And I said, that was me.
Too funny. Well, thank you for your time. I hope
You're
you
very
enjoyed
welcome.
it.
Thank
and I
you.
hope you guys love our series on Time Will Tell, getting to know the judges and the historians of our sport and sharing with us what they knew from a time before. All you youngsters, please watch this because you have so much that you can learn from. Thank you, everyone.